Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion, and now we're talking about RoeCanada, a new film that's slated to be released, that's being crowdfunded. And joining me is the film's producer and director, Kevin Dunn, and one of the, I guess, main stars of the film, Josie Luetke. You're a principal investigator for the film. Kevin, just before we went to commercial, I'm sorry I had to cut you off. Those commercials have to get aired, but we were
It's
talking
all good.
about why these discussions need to happen. And look, I'm a huge proponent of free speech, and like I said, I love documentaries. I'll watch documentaries of all political striping on issues I agree or disagree with or may take a different position on because I like to be informed. What is it about the abortion issue that just seems to shut down discussion?
Well, it's divisive, right? And there's been so much false information or no information at all that comes out in the media. You have to dig deep. Most people think there's some sort of law in Canada restricting abortion, but even the CBC has said there's no constitutional right to abortion. It's a legal vacuum. So it's crazy in my view as a documentary filmmaker and somebody who loves children, loves life right from conception until natural death, which is what I firmly believe. But even just the sheer point that we haven't had this discussion is um, is terrible. So hopefully this film will allow that opportunity to take place. The same kind of opportunities that Josie has on the streets as she goes out and addresses this with Canadians.
Now, Josie, I know you mentioned that I guess the impetus for the timing, let's say, for this documentary is because last year Roe v. Wade was overturned, was the U.S. law. So they had a law. They had a law on abortion, and it was struck down. Canada, as Kevin has wonderfully explained, we don't have a law. So is this a little bit of an apples and oranges comparison? If there is no law in Canada, there's nothing to strike down. So what are you hoping for practically?
That's a great question. You're right that there isn't quite a perfectly comparable situation, but I think what was significant about the Dobbs victory is that it proved that we can make progress on this issue. Because initially, even 10 years ago, people, if you told them that Roe v. Wade would be overturned, they wouldn't believe you.
I was
So I think
surprised.
it's
I was
yeah,
surprised, and I've worked within the pro-life movement, so
I was in doubt up till I saw the decision with my own eyes. And so I think it's a very symbolic victory. And so when we say we want to have a victory like Dobbs here in Canada, we're looking for a similar cultural change. Certainly, our long-term goal would be to abolish abortion because we believe it to be a human rights injustice. But short-term, we're just looking to restart the discussion and to bring a level of civility and open-mindedness to it that hasn't really existed at all recently. If you even bring up anything remotely related to abortion in parliament, you're attacked for, going after women's rights or being misogynistic or anything like that. And we should be able to talk about this controversial issue without things getting so inflamed. So that's our short-term goal, is at least being able to talk about it. Long term, it would be restoring human rights to all human beings, including human beings in the womb.
yeah, and I agree, at least at the parliamentary level. I mean, things should be civil and all issues should be discussed. I mean, welcome to democracy. It's not always fun, but that's what we have. Um, Look, regardless of where people stand on the Roe v. Wade overturn issue, I think you're right. I think it got the discussion going. A lot of people kind of didn't talk about abortion for a long time in America, although I see it coming up every election cycle. And I think now people really kind of gave it some thought and kind of formed an opinion, which is a good thing. It's good to have an opinion in society. So, on that note, Kevin, you have some very interesting people who are making appearances in this film. I was reading through the website. Tell us about some of the people you're having on. We have about a minute before commercial.
Sure. I mean, Abby Johnson, former Planned Parenthood director, and Kristen Hawkins, Students for Life America, Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee, Jonathan Van Maren from Canada here with Canadian Center for Bioethical Reform, Jim Hughes, Campaign Life Coalition, and Stephanie Gray Connors, who we know both in Canada and the U.S. Incredible speaker. So many people came together, advocates, constitutional lawyers, to bring their viewpoint, to ask the question: could this ever happen? What would it take? And to give a little bit of hope to those who have been on the ground, people like Josie, for many years. And we see so many young people now who are gravitating towards, who see the human rights and justice and want to make a change. And hopefully we can open up the dialogue in that regard with this film.
Okay, well, again, you've highlighted quite a varied cast there of folks who will be making appearances in this film, and like you said, it'll be coming later this year, hopefully. We're going to cut to commercial break, but we're going to wrap this up in just a few moments.